and a movie, where I do my makeup.
And I talk about a movie.
And today we're going to talk about
Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, the Netflix show.
We have to be specific because there's many out there.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that while I do my makeup using the new, well, it's not new, but it's new to me. I literally just got this yesterday, Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I'm doing this also in conjunction as a collab with some women in my Geeks and Beauties group, so make sure you check for their information down below. I believe at least Angela and Naomi are doing this with me. There might be some other people. Also, please excuse my hair. I like to air dry my hair and it's just not drying fast enough for me today, but that's okay because it's kind of thematic and appropriate for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So before we start into the makeup, I just wanted to let you know that as far as this series, I have read 13 of the series books and one of the additional supplemental materials that Daniel Handler, aka Lemony Snicket, has written. I did not like the 13th book. I thought it was really just didn't end well for me, and enough for me. So I'm really hoping that as far as this Netflix show, the last book is portrayed in a different way. For the most part, I believe the Netflix show follows the books pretty closely, as close as you can. But what I do like about it is that they kind of add some twists that they don't talk about so early on in the book. And yeah, so that is my 2 cents about the movie before we jump into what it's like. And let me tell you how I'm going to do my look today. So I'm going to kind of go along very, I'm not going to say slowly, because usually these tend to be about a 20-25 minute video, but I'm going to do step by step what I'm using, because I'm going to try to use as many of the shadows as possible, and bear with me because I have not played around with this. So that you guys are basically seeing first off how I am trying this out. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use 2 shades. There's this one right here called White Peach, and this one right here called Peaches and Cream, which I'm going to put all over my lid to start off with. I mean, just put down a really white base. Everything I've already used on my look is going to be down below in the description box for you. So yes, let's jump in.
Let's jump in. So let's start off with the actual author himself. Daniel Handler is also the executive producer, the screenplay writer, and he has a cameo. I believe it's in episode 6. So if you watch around...
Book 3.
Yeah, book 3. You watch around, you see a fish head salesman. That's actually Daniel Handler.
Well, let's back it up a minute and actually talk about how it's broken down so that they understand what we're talking about.
So each book is broken into 2 halves, at least for this season. You have book 1 taking up episodes 1 and 2, book 2, 2 and 4, 3 and 4, so on and so forth.
Do you remember the names of the books that they are doing?
It is a something beginning, a bad beginning. It was the lizard reptile room, the wide window, and the miserable mill.
And if you notice, the way that his books are named, I don't remember the name for what it's called, but it starts with the same letter. So B and B for Bad Beginning, M and M for Miserable Mill, and every book is like that. These books, while geared toward like younger age kids, the reason why they're kind of effective is because they celebrate grammar, language, and I want to say analytical, but that's not what I'm talking about. There's
deductive reasoning.
There's an actual word for grammar and the way that it is used, the sounds that it makes, the combinations. I cannot remember what the name of that is, but this is what this is celebrating. So a lot of times when you are watching it, you'll hear them say, this word which means blah blah blah, and that basically is helping the kids learn new language as they're going, even though it's, you know, this like,
but I also really like how many times they'll go, it's used here to mean this, but it can also mean this.
Exactly. Alright, so now I'm going to start in on my crease colors, and And I'm gonna use this color right here, which is Georgia, and it's kind of this like really light peach one. Then I'm gonna use this color here, which is just peachy, which is a little bit darker, and then on top of that, it's gonna be candied peach. So I'm just gonna kind of work my way up from lightest to darkest in the crease to kind of build that color.
Okay. One of the other things about this series is that the number 13 is a really huge number for it. There was 13 books in the main series, with the last one being released on October 13th, a Friday. Then, in that book, almost on every single page, the number 13 shows up somewhere.
It does. It does. I forgot to mention, the reason why I'm using the Too Faced palette in the first place does actually tie into the book series. So we will get to that in a minute.
We will get to that sometime soon. The series title itself is made up of 26 letters, which is a multiple of 13. And the Netflix series premiered on January 13th, again, a Friday, but it was also 13 years after the movie that nobody wants to talk about.
Oh, that's amazing.
Daniel Handler actually had worked on the original movie.
Yes, he did.
But while he had written 8 screenplays for it, he then got fired, and then they went with a different screenplay writer.
And it shows.
And it shows a lot.
I have to say, the way that Netflix handled this as opposed to the other movie is kind of genius in my opinion, because while the other one was, the original movie was very campy and kind of like, okay. I think, you know, Jim Carrey, while he's a great character actor, just kind of overdid it. Whereas, you know, Neil Patrick Harris, the subtleties of the character of Count Olaf that he's playing is so awesome that I think that is really what kind of changed it, you know, that's what made it better. But
it's also, it's how they're handling both him and Lemony Snicket. Now, Lemony Snicket does appear as a character in the movie, in the shows, not just as a narrator, but you get to see him doing various things, because there is a prequel series of 4 books called All the Wrong Questions.
I've read one of those. I haven't read all of them.
Yeah. But both of them break the fourth wall. So Lemony Snicket's always talking as a narrator to you directly, but there's a lot of times where Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf will turn and look right at the audience to say a line because he's making a joke. Many times, not only because of this being on Netflix, but also jokes about his own, as an actor, history and the history of the series. In fact, at one point during the Reptile Room, they all go to this theater, and he comes in and he goes, this godforsaken Nickelodeon, which is a reference to the fact that it's a theater, but also the fact that the movie was produced by Nickelodeon Films.
All right, so before you get into it more, let's give you the basic premise, since I think we kind of jumped ahead of ourselves as to what we're doing. So basically what the series of unfortunate events is about the Baudelaire children. It is about, their names are Sunny. Sunny is the baby, Klaus is the boy, he's in the middle, and then Violet, and she is the oldest. And their parents died in a fire, which is what we're going to say about the parents at this point, because the story, it takes on a lot of twists and turns involving them, the fire, their parents, what their parents were involved in, why they died, who killed them. There's a lot going on. So then, because the kids are orphans, they are taken by their caretaker, Mr. Poe, who is in charge of their estate, to every book is about them and various guardians. Again, I will use this a lot in this video because there's a lot of like, we're calling them this, but they're not really this, okay? So they're guardians that are going to take care of them. So the first one that they got to was Count Olaf, which you come to find out basically manipulated Mr. Poe, who is kind of a dimwit, a big dimwit. He manipulated him to have him take care of the kids so that he could get Violet's fortune, which is coming to her when she becomes of age, and they never really say when that is, but it happens. So the thing you will know that is like standard in every single book is there will be a guardian who takes care of them. There will be somebody in the book who almost happens on the fact that Count Olaf is is in disguise and is pretending to be somebody, which as an actor he can. He's got disguises and makeup and a big troop of people helping him, so he can pull off these elaborate schemes in each book. But this person will almost come up with like, oh, it might be him, and then something either happens to them or something, you know, or they catch him or just catch him. So he's always kind of on the lam and always comes back in every book. That's not a spoiler, it happens. You're gonna see this. If you
don't know about this, you probably haven't seen the bad movie.
Pretty much, like you see him, he dresses up like a woman, he dresses up like an older person, like, and that's just in the first 4 books. There are other things happening as well. There's things that pop up all the time. There's something called VFD. We'll probably talk about that in a minute. There are themes that run through all of the entire books. But the biggest thing about this that's kind of sad, the reason why it's an unfortunate event, is because you just really feel for these 3 kids who all have unique talents and all are very intelligent, and you feel like they should not be in the situation. They get out of the situation like every single time, trying to move on with their lives. The adults around them are kind of dumb, but the entire book is kind of done, and the movie, the series, is kind of done tongue-in-cheek. Like, we know it's bad, but we're trying to make light of it so that the whole thing is not like this trudging Shakespearean tragedy. Yeah. You know, that it
does have a lot of good humor in it, and it's not just in the narration, but it's also in how the characters just act.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to put some more in my crease now. This one is Summer Yum. As you can see, I'm kind of built up this really nice like layer of peach color. So I'm going to use Summer Yum, and then I think I might use Peach Pit, which is kind of a darker purple, and I'm just going to kind of try to work that into my outer V. And then on the lid, I'm going to use this color right here, which is Luscious, which is this really nice shimmery color, and work that in on the lid part as well. I might also add a little bit of it under my brow bone and to my inner corner. And then I think lastly what I'm going to do is Talk Derby to Me, which is I'm going to use like on my lower lash line.
It's a brown color, isn't it?
No, it's actually this dark purple color with glitter specks.
How do you not have a brown derby?
It is what it is.
So yeah, the 3 Baudelaire children, as you said, each have their own kind of skills and abilities. You have Violet, who is extremely good in mechanical engineering and can build just about anything from anything. You have Klaus, who is very good at like knowledge. He'll read constantly and will be like, here's more knowledge, here's more of what's going on, and he's very good at understanding it. On the other hand, you have Sunny, and a lot of times people are just thinking, well, she just chews on things, because she can whittle just about any substance that's hard with her 2 buck teeth. But she's also, and this isn't really talked about, very intuitive. She really does read into situations even better than the other 2 children, who are better than all adults.
Plus she can see things from a different point of view. She's a baby, she crawls around the ground, so a lot of times she will see things at her level that other people can't see, and she will call attention to it and let them know the clues.
Yeah, so these 3 characters are actually named after a very real person. They are named after the 19th century French poet, Charles Baudelaire. He had a very dark life, and I have it all written down here, but let's not get into that, because wow, that's dark. Wow, okay. Let's just not get into that. In fact, their story was so similarly dark. The writer's son is afraid of the series and refuses to read it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's afraid of his father's own works. So she had also mentioned the VFD. The VFD, they never actually mentioned it during the series that we watched. I have never read the book, so I don't exactly know what the VFD is.
They kind of did.
They kind of showed it.
They showed letters, but they don't mention what the VFD is until much later anyway.
But in their marketing for it, they actually used it.
Yes, they did.
In the concept art for the series was actually hidden through a series of hidden websites that you could get to by Googling different words that are acronymed to VFD, such as very flammable dandelions, visceral, fantabulous debut, vital fan disclosure, stuff like that.
That is actually a big theme throughout the books as well. There's a lot of things that start with V, F, and D together in this series, so they're kind of still bringing that around. And something else that they didn't really bring out either is the phrase, "the world is quiet here," which is the catchphrase of VFD. I hope they'll bring that in later because it is kind of an interesting thing that they can talk about and bring about to light when they start talking about the VFD.
How much of a spoiler is it? Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
I can't talk about it.
So it's a big spoiler.
But then again, I don't know if they're really going to make it as big of a spoiler as it really is, but I can't talk about it. Yep, okay. It's a big spoiler.
Very good. Let's go through a little bit. We have not just Neil Patrick Harris from the How I Met Your Mother crew, but also Colby Smulders.
Which we are not going to tell you what part she plays because it's kind of a twist.
Yes. However, she and he have another connection.
Yes, they do.
They have also been playing as comic book characters.
Yes, they have.
There's 4 or 5 different characters that have all been acted out by people that played as comic book characters. You have Kobe Smulders, who played as Lego Wonder Woman. You have Will Arnett, who played as Batman in the Lego movie. You have Neil Patrick Harris, who has voiced Spider-Man in a whole bunch of different cartoons, including the Lego Spider-Man. And you have Tara Strong, who played as Sunny Baudelaire, who voiced Raven in the Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go.
Sunny Baudelaire, the baby?
Yeah, her voice was done by Tara Strong, who also played as Twilight Sparkle and a whole bunch of other roles. Tara Strong is just about everywhere in voice acting.
The baby?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so the person who did the voice the voice for the baby. I got what you're saying.
No,
I was
the actual
like,
baby. No, the actual baby herself. No, she's nowhere in voice acting.
No.
No. And a lot of the times you'll see, like, if you really look close, it's a doll that has had the baby's face CG'd on, which was a very good way to avoid another Mary-Kate and Ashley incident.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Alright, so I have now finished the eye look itself. The only thing I'm going to add to this is going to be my liner. I have already done the mascara just because it's easier, and I'm just going to use the Kat Von D tattoo liner. And then for my lips, I'm going to use the Buxon. This was the Wildly Whipped Soft Matte Lip in Wandrous. So the reason why I did want to bring up, now that I'm done with it, the reason why I'm using the Too Faced palette is because Count Olaf likes to disguise himself as many different characters. So he's not just himself as Count Olaf, he is a bunch of other different people, and therefore he is two-faced.
Very much so. Very much so.
I can't tie in the lip, I'm sorry.
You don't have to.
No, I don't.
It's makeup, don't gotta explain nothing. Okay, one of the other, I'm gonna now get into kind of how I felt about the show. This, I really liked how they presented the world. It was very beautiful, very fantastical, but at the same time very real. Even in the places that you knew it was completely CG. They did a lot of CG backgrounds and blue screens in this.
And a lot of times, like, we watch it and we're like, CG, because we don't want to see that. But then in this case, I think it really worked because it kind of brought the world to realistic but yet fantasy at the same time.
Yeah, because all these places are supposed to be real world, but are so bizarre that they don't look real. But in this case, they made that kind of a blend work perfectly, so that you felt like it was a world kind of almost modern day that had some just bizarre spots. And a lot of that was actually in due part to one of the producers, Barry Sonnenfeld, who also worked on Men in Black. And Men in Black kind of had that same feel, like this is the real world, but there's some really weird stuff going on in it. So I feel like he really contributed to that, and they also made a little nudge to him in episode 3, when they go to the theater and you get to see Men in Beige on the marquee.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Also, on the opening credits, it changes.
Yeah. Every single episode, there's a chunk in the middle of the opening credits where they sing about what's going on in that book, and each episode art has the same words in there, but the first episode of the arc has Count Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf, and then in the second episode of each arc, he's singing as that character that Olaf is portraying, which makes every single one of them just a little bit different, a little bit more fun. So you always know when you're watching the opening credits which one you're watching.
That is true.
Yeah.
Alright, I am done with my look. I have to say, I super love this palette, and I had heard really like not great things about it, then I'd heard some really awesome things about it, you know, and it sold out like that, so I was always kind of like skeptical. I really don't like things that are just so limited edition you can't get your hands on it, which is why it took me so long to purchase it, even though I love the Too Faced chocolate palettes. They're like my staple, but I love how these blend and how these colors work together. I know a lot of people were like, well, I would have liked more peach in it, but I kind of disagree, because I think the amount of peach colors they have work for the skin tones that I've seen. They work, and I think if they have more peach, then it might not work as well. But you know, that being said, yeah, I like it. A lot of people complain about the smell. I think it smells like peach. It might be kind of sensitive for some people, but not for me personally.
Peach isn't exactly my favorite favorite scent or taste, but honestly, I really like the fact that they do have these scented things. It's almost like aromatherapy while you're doing your makeup, so that you can kind of get yourself into a different mood in the morning. And I think that's a really good idea. More companies need to do that. I know we have some that are smelling like chocolate, some smelling peanut butter, but mostly it's from Too Faced. Other companies might want to pick up on this idea if they haven't already.
I mean, I like it when stuff smells. It's awesome. Alright, so please let us know if you want us to continue doing Make Fun Movie. We kind of took a hiatus because Chris was having scheduling stuff, so he wasn't able to do stuff with us.
So you get me instead.
You know, if you like his ultra facts,
I must fact everything.
Then please let us know that you want us to continue doing this. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time,
stay zany.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and avoid Count Olaf.